So here we go. It's funny because Sona just expressed the fact that Databricks works, that Zingg and Databricks works together and doing some customer 360, and I'm going to show you something related to that. So I'm a bit familiar with entity resolution. I've been doing myself some customer 360 projects, and I want to share more a business side of things rather than technical. And of course, I'm going to share some technical things as well. So let's start with that right now. Customer 360 for 10, 12 minutes, I hope. So I'm sure you know what Customer 360 is, but a little reminder is never bad. And so Customers 360 provides a trusted single view of customers, and what we call customers can vary depending of verticals in industries or companies. But mainly, you always have a name, an address, a telephone number, a gender, some information that are related to a business. And of course, it looks like it's a technical problem to solve, which is to say, if you have different names that are related to the same person. Let's give an example, like Peter Simpson, for instance. It can be tricky to link all the Peter Simpson together. It's a technical problem, but mostly it is a huge business problem for all companies. And even if a lot of companies have put a lot of effort in that, it is still a challenge. So just two examples. It is important for banks because in terms of regulation, such as BCBS regulations, it is mandatory now to be able, when you're a bank, to present files that show that you have a customer 360 perspective. It is important because if you have different Peter Simpson in the bank as a client, you have to know that Peter Simpson one, who basically lent to the borrowed from the bank 1 million, another Peter Simpson two borrowed 2 million, another one borrowed 3 million. You have to understand that it's not 1, 2, and 3 million separately, but it's 6 million, which makes an exposure at risk for this particular customer. So it's also very helpful when you do fraud detection or money laundering, and you're able to connect the people, less people because they are connected to as a single customer. It really helps to make the connection and to detect frauds. For a company which sell goods, it's also very interesting to better target their offer in the area of marketing. You don't want to sell alcohol advertisement to kids, for instance. You may laugh at that, but it happened in the past. And if you know better your customers, as well, you can enhance your cross-sell opportunities. So the customer 360, knowing your customer, will differ from verticals, from industries. They'll never be the same use case, the exact same use case, but they are doing the same thing, which is to link rows together into a single entity. So basically here, I'm going to show you what I've been dealing with Zingg. So I had 8 data sources. They represent something around 227,000 transactions. In each transaction, there is a spend amount and also a name, an address for the customer. The usual attributes, usual suspects like full name, first, last name, date of birth, phone, the street address, stuff like that. And here, I basically installed Zingg on my computer using the Docker, and I was able to manage this volume of data very easily, and I was pretty surprised. And what you're looking at the moment here is before Zingg. It's the perspective from the data. You take all the names you have and you put this bar graph by spend, summing all the transaction for instance, if you follow my mouse here, Tammy Turner, and who spent something like more than 2.5K. If you see here that Jack Perkins, Jessica Rice, oh, wait a minute, another Tammy Turner in the same town, which is Oxnard. Well, there's some chance that this is the same Tammy Turner. And you see here, there is a spelling mistake, probably. And basically here, what you're going to see is that we have a Susan Miller here, and there's spelling mistake in her name, or different names or nicknames. She might have changed her address. There are some people who live in the same household. Well, actually here, what you're looking at are the true data, but what you see is not the truth, because the customer 360 is not applied here. It's just rough data. And if we apply Zingg on top of this data, this is what is happening. You see, on the left side, this is before Zingg. This is this thing we've seen. And here it's after Zingg, after the entity resolution. First, look at here. There's a scale here, and we have another scale here. It's very interesting, because if you are a company, you say, well, wait a minute, I saw Tammy Turner spend this amount of money, and actually it's more than 4,000. And Susan Miller, she moved from 1.5K to 2.5K. So here it's a small scale in terms of amount, but if you think here, it's 30% more, 30% more amount for Tammy Turner. Think about suppliers. Think about large amounts. If you move from 10 million to 13 million, or maybe more, you see, there is a business perspective here. For a company that sells goods, this is very important to know better how much people have basically spent with them. So I'm going to show you quickly how things were made into a notebook. And here I'm just showing data. You see here I'm having this city, Oxnard, and this is what we were looking at. You see here, now we have Tammy Turner with 4.3 thousand and Susan Miller here. So what happened to those guys? Here, if I'm showing Susan here, you're going to see that actually here, I'm going to show Susan. I didn't see that was not Susan. Here, if I'm showing Susan, there was two Susan at the beginning, two Susan Miller. If I'm showing Susan with Zingg, what's going to happen is this. Okay, we now have four records. I'm not showing you the cases where we have 20 records together, but because I want things to be simple here. But you see, her name is Suze Miller. We might have Susie Miller sometime. The address is the same. It is definitely the same person. The only thing is different way of writing the address. So it's a very simple case here. But Zingg put them together, and it makes a change. Here also, if I'm looking at Tammy Turner, same name. Oh no, there's Tammy IE and Tammy Y. The address is the same. We have little glitches here. A point appeared sometimes, but basically the same address, and boom, this is pretty cool, because we have here the same person and now in a single cluster. So all those little differences, we can't catch them with a simple group by in SQL. We need Zingg for that. And here, if I'm going just a little bit here, and I'm looking for all the cities, so an aggregation of all the data I have here, this is the difference we have. So before Zingg, we have amounts like 5K here, and here it's 8K for spend. So having a complete different perspective here, and the names are totally different. This is not the same top 10 we have from before Zingg and after Zingg. And just something I wanted to figure out, there's another guy I haven't shown here. It's a guy I call Bob Stokes. And Bob Stokes is funny, because Bob Stokes, it has a lot of issues in its name, or sometimes his address is not complete. There is a 0 instead of an O, etc. and which makes it a bit complex to find this guy. But Bob Stokes, same date of birth, different addresses, some is missing, different email for this case, and however, you see Zingg was able to put them together. So this is a very interesting case, and maybe later I'll be doing another presentation on how to match together things that are not very related. Just to come back on my presentation, and I will end there. We've seen here some data that are pretty funny actually, and the question is how we do that. Well, I only answered 80 questions, and I want to emphasize one thing. My expertise was key. I might be wrong, right? In what my expertise might be wrong, but I want to say that the expertise is very important. You won't have the same expertise depending on the use case. Think about quality matching in banks and a marketplace. Their answers will be different. So there is the same use case, but of course different results depending on the requirements. That's really important to think about. And I would say one thing is target business first. This is really what we want. I'd like to see with customer 360 rather than technical problems, because business is definitely interested in getting data all together. Having data linked together, that's great, beautiful data and great data, that's funny, that's good, but what else? So what, basically? And it has to provide value to the business. So if Zingg can be successful, is I think through business. And last point, just to finish, I'm a data architect for large enterprises, and combination of Zingg and new technologies are very disruptive for old companies. And of course, we are talking about Snowflake, Databricks, but if you think about banks, it's still a challenge for them. And Zingg has to find its own place in their ecosystem, because Zingg is disruptive for these companies. So there's a lot of effort to make things pretty clear for those banks and those companies to use freely and easily Zingg. That was me. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I get back to you, Sonal.